Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. I'm your host, Chris Salem. You found us here at TALRadio, and welcome. If this is your first go around with us, welcome to the TALRadio network. Again, you can listen to the many great shows across many different topic areas here at TALRadio. And here at Business Influencers, we are committed each and every week in giving you subject matter experts that share personally from their experience to help raise your level of influence and your business to the next level. And if there is any content that you'd like to see shared on a future show, feel free to reach out to us at Chris Salem at ChristopherSalem.com, or one of my team members will get back to you to address your questions and to see if we could have that content covered on a future show. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, this is a membership program, taking out all the noise of social media, no more of those noisy notifications. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. And again, as a member, you're eligible to receive information on both a personal and professional development case that is not available to the general public. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, I'm so excited. We're going to be covering a topic today that is truly a challenge, but it doesn't have to be moving forward. We're going to be talking about big impact without burnout, and it happens to be the name of a new book coming out, and you're going to learn more about that here shortly. And we're going to be talking with Bianca Best. And a little bit about Bianca. She's a global recognized speaker, author, and strategist whose career includes collaborations with some of the world's most influential companies, such as Google, Amazon, WFP, Deloitte, Barclays, and Unilever. Now, as an international speaker and strategist, she is dedicated to empowering professionals to achieve extraordinary results without sacrificing their health or happiness. Her latest book, Big Impact Without Burnout, offers actionable strategies to help leaders align purpose with performance while navigating the challenges of today's demanding world. With her engaging energy and practical insights, she inspires audiences to embrace a fulfilling and sustainable approach to success. And without further ado, we welcome Bianca Best. Bianca, how are you doing today?
Really good, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you. Great introduction.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. We are so blessed to have you here. And we'd love to, before we dive into all the good stuff that you have in your book, Big Impact Without Burnout, let's talk a little bit about the challenge of burnout. It's real. It's, it's very subtle in many ways. A lot of times people may not even realize the issues and further challenges that it's causing in terms of even money with organizations. Let's just, if you could share some insight for us.
Absolutely. I mean, burnout is an epidemic. It was actually classified as an epidemic in 2019 for the first time by the World Health Organization. So that was pre the pandemic. That was pre-lockdowns. And since then, it has just catastrophically worsened. And sadly, burnout continues to just really hinder our economic performance. It's affecting us societally, globally, and of course, individually. I mean, it's estimated to cost the global economy around $1 trillion a year in lost productivity, in employee absenteeism. And what's really tragic about all the staggering statistics around burnout, and they are worsening year on year, is that the majority of cases are lifestyle-based and preventable. So we're in this situation where seemingly none of us quite know how to work anymore and protect ourselves and our well-being to be able to function positively.
Oh, wow. And like you said, it is an epidemic, and it's costing, so much, not only people like their own lives, but, in this case, it's costing companies. And then when it costs companies their time in production, that affects, profits and so on. It just impacts everybody. It's a ripple effect.
Yeah, it does. And what I'm noticing is a real trend where if we as employees start to feel that threat of burnout looming, A natural reaction is, well, I'll jump ship. I'll go to another company or
And
I'll sell my
repeat the
business.
process again.
And that's all that happens. And we've got this illusion that the grass is greener. And the reality is there's going to be the same amount of work over there and there's going to be the same amount of pressure. And so it's up to us to create the self-agency to work out how to self-direct and how to manage in today's environment to self-sustain personally and professionally. Because when we talk about burnout, let's not forget, this isn't just a workplace phenomenon. This is just a whole life issue.
Yeah. Well, let's talk. I mean, when you say it, like, again, it's a life issue, and nobody can make somebody do something. Like a company can't control a person outright for everything, and
Exactly.
nobody can control another person. But what is the way to kind of get people to now be aware and take responsibility to take proactive measures to offset, or even where job burnout cannot even get a hold on them?
Well, it's interesting because quite often there's a lot of blame that's laid at the door of companies. And actually, I would always say that it's our individual responsibility to make sure we don't burn out. And what
Yeah.
that comes down to is recognizing where we sit on the stress productivity curve. So, if I don't know if you're familiar with it or the listeners are familiar with it, but back
Yeah.
in the 70s, Yerkes and Dodson created this beautiful curve that depicts how good, healthy stress gets us to a point at the top of this curve where we start hitting an arena of peak performance. So we've got that kind of adrenaline of stress that just makes us feel alive, makes us feel invigorated, motivated. It's the kind of thrill that you get when you're about to go on a roller coaster or your first date, that little sort of tummy rumble of, okay,
Yeah.
I've got this. And it's a good place to be at the top of that curve. But what's happening is in today's day and age and the way that we work today with the technological explosion and the busyness out there, we're at this peak performance state for a prolonged period of time. And that is unsustainable because we're not designed physiologically to be in that stressed state of cortisol production for too long. So
Yeah.
if we're up there for too long, then we run the risk of cascading down the negative side of the graph, which was where we step into this place of it starts with a bit of fogginess, a bit of inability to think straight. Then we start to feel a bit overwhelmed and start battling with the to-do list. It's not invigorating, it's exhausting. Then we start to really deplete in energy and really start to crumble. And then at that place, sort of towards the bottom of the curve, when we're really in dis-ease, as in all of life is too much, then we run the risk of getting very ill and really harming ourselves. And that's when we're into burnout. So the responsibility lies with us to understand when we're at the top of that curve and how long we want to stay there to make sure that we don't career down the other side, but we rest, we rejuvenate, and then we're able to come back and hit another level of peak performance. But we are the ones that are responsible for really understanding our individuality in that equation of stress plus rest equals productivity and equals growth.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's well put, and it's so informative. I know exactly that stress chart that came out, and it's so true.
Yeah.
What do you see, like, in terms of, you're here sharing awareness right now. You have your book out, and that's going to do, be a tremendous value to business professionals, people all the way around, even if it's in their personal lives, and then
Mm-hmm.
companies too, so they're aware of, the things that they can do to, offer more resources and create more awareness to,
Yeah.
to help offset it. They can't offset it completely, but
Yeah.
doing their best to kind of, so it doesn't, it does become now a further problem
Yeah.
collectively in their organizations. What do you recommend, when people go about doing something? Do they start with one thing and kind of like work from there and not
Yeah.
trying to do everything all at once?
Well, it's everyone is bio-individual. It's really important to remember there is never one size fits all.
Yeah.
And if I think about my own journey, so I have gone from launching and selling a business across a decade to then entering corporate, spending a decade learning how to play the corporate game. So, and raising a family, having 4 children, and all of the rich life expansion that comes with getting older and having more responsibility. I hit a period in my late 20s through to my mid 30s where I was burning out catastrophically the whole time,
Mm.
leaning into my ambition with real fervor and excitement, because ambition is a good thing. It's okay
Yeah.
to want to have impact, but I didn't know how to manage myself. And so as life became fuller and fuller, and there were more children and a bigger business and more responsibilities, I just kept crashing and I kept crashing until I ended that cycle in 2015, which is why I write the books that I do and I teach how I teach. But across that period of learning and my own journey, how to manage burnout, I started with physical initially. I was like, okay, it must be just a physical fix that I need. I need more sleep. I need to stop having processed foods. I need to exercise more. But that wasn't enough. So then I started dabbling with, okay, it's the mental stuff. I need to journal more. I need to meditate more. It must be a blend of the physical and the mental. But that wasn't enough. And it was when I got to the point where it was about the emotional as well. And I
Ah,
started to understand the impact of emotional stress, which can show up like a little niggle, a little sort of
yeah.
discomfort around a work culture or a work task or a relationship, that little emotional niggle, until I addressed that as well. And until I was doing the physical, the mental, and the emotional, I wasn't thriving. But once I realized I had to look at all three lenses of life
Yeah. It's like a
at the same time,
trifecta, right?
it really was. It was like the magic wand. And so that's what I teach now. It's about looking at yourself physically and mentally and emotionally. And quite often, I think in all the well-being literature that exists at the moment, we over-index on the physical and the mental, and we're not paying enough attention to that emotional stress, the
I
emotional.
I I agree 100%. I am a big proponent of emotional intelligence. Can you provide some more insight for us there? Because I think that again, like you said, that is it's emotional intelligence is something that I feel, okay, people may have heard it, but do
Mhm.
they really understand it? And
Yeah,
and oftentimes, like you said, they might have heard it, but they're not doing anything that addresses that area. And then they
yeah,
get upset when, hey, I'm doing these things on the mental, the physical
yeah,
side, but yet I'm still,
exactly.
disconnected.
Well, and emotional intelligence, we know that the most effective leaders, the most effective organizations are the ones that have a proliferation of
Yeah.
people with high EQ. And so it's important to know that the fundamentals of EQ are being empathic, being able to see and interpret others, read the room, read the energy, and have that positive relational energy yourself. It can be learned. And that's what's important, that we need to not bucket people into, oh, that's a low
Yeah.
IQ person. But organizations need to take that responsibility for teaching. This is how you can expand your awareness and expand your EQ. When I work with individuals in my coaching practice who are nervous that they're tripping into burnout and that it might be the emotional realm because they've ticked the physical, they've ticked the mental, and that it's the emotional that's left. What we do is we look at the triggers in their life, the trigger areas. So, what are the mental swirls keeping them awake at night? What are those little niggles that they want to moan about? Because in there lies gold. So I always encourage everyone to lean into your triggers, because once you address and resolve the trigger, instead of suppressing it or channeling the unrest
Stuffing it
away,
down, stuffing it.
yeah,
Yep.
which is what we do, because we quite often hide behind the busyness, and it's so easy to do
Well,
that.
you made such a valid point. I know personally that's what I did for the first 30 years of my life.
Wow.
I had stuffed it because it was something I learned. I learned that growing up because I watched my father do it. My father, I
Yeah.
believe, had so many emotional demons and he never showed it and he
Mhm.
stuffed it and stuffed it. And I think it was that stuffing of his emotions, not addressing it, that
Mhm.
eventually manifested itself into cancer, which
Oh, I'm
became
sorry.
cancer, and he died at the age of 56.
Oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
and
I'm
that
so
was God, what, 20, oh, going on 25, no, 26 years now. It'll be 26 years at the end of this year.
wow.
But I'm right now going on 58. I'm like 2 years old, almost 2 years older than when he was when he died. But that
Wow.
what could have been me if I didn't was not, and that was a pivot point for me. So
And how
you
did you get
said
to that
that it
point?
just really brought
Yeah.
that back. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to know, how did you get to that point where you recognized that you needed to have your emotions?
It was a pivot point with me was the day before my father died. He was looking over at me. He couldn't speak. He was, they had morphine to kind of ease the pain so he could die peacefully. But he was communicating to me, and I couldn't. I still to this day can't explain how
Wow.
I could understand what he was saying because he wasn't speaking. It was he was speaking through his mind to
Energetic.
me. I can't. But I heard what he said. And he said, I can remember him saying, I did, I know I wasn't the father you wanted me to be. I did the best I could with what I knew.
Oh,
And
bless.
because he grew up in a household where he was neglected, where he was treated like, he was the black sheep of the family. And
Yeah.
that lit off, my light bulb went off. I said, oh my
Wow.
God, I all along thought my dad didn't care. He alienated
Wow.
me and my brother and my mother, but he
Wow.
just he didn't know any
To know any
better.
different. He
And
didn't know.
and then I was going to repeat those same patterns. And that was the moment I said I was going to change. I didn't know how I was. I didn't know what I was going to do, but that
Yeah.
was the pivot. But my dad ended up giving me the greatest gift
Wow.
and
That
made up for all those years. And maybe what was supposed to happen, that was meant to be.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, that is, thank you so much for sharing that. I
Yes.
mean, that sounds like that was a divine
Oh,
moment.
it was a divine moment to this day. And I
Yeah.
even covered that in my book, Master Your Inner Critic. So when you said that, it was like, oh my God, it's so true.
Wow. Well, I'm pleased that you got that gift and you felt
Yes.
that blessing and you were able
Yeah.
to evolve into the
Yeah.
wonderful human you are today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. But I'd love you to share from your knowledge into this area because maybe again, that's the missing piece that a lot of people don't connect the
Yeah.
dots with.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So when I created my book, so this whole book is about really creating a step-by-step way to become self-aware to mitigate against burnout. And it's 8 strategies. The first 4 strategies are how we go within to
Mm,
really create those solid inner foundations to enable us to then go out into the world and achieve all those ambitions and all the big dreams that we have that we want to sprinkle around the world. And those first 4 strategies are around energy management, it's mindset management, it's time management, and it's about being intentional and purposeful. So they're the 4 core pillars that I believe each and every one of us need to just lean into and explore. Because too often we get into a victim mindset of, oh, it's
mm,
really tough, or I'm stuck this way, or I just don't have enough energy, or I don't have enough time, or life's happening to me. And all of this can be managed and mastered. We are custodians of everything that is manifest around us. And it's all, I mean, everything around us literally is a manifestation of the decisions that we've made in our
yeah.
lives. And those decisions that we make around our energy, our time, our mindset, our purpose are what can be transformational. So rather than feeling, oh, I need to grapple and get more energy or I need more time, why not work with our natural rhythms and start to lean into life in such a way where we revere our bio individuality and flow more in alignment with what actually matters most to us and what nourishes and
Mm,
energizes us most. Because when we do that, funnily enough, life's a lot more fun. It's a lot
yes.
more expansive. We have a lot more impact. So, it's none of it is rocket science, but it's having the time and the patience to go within and
Yeah.
build a self-awareness practice, because from self-awareness comes growth.
Yeah. Like you said, if you're not aware and you're not aware like what's working, what's not in that area, then how can you regulate that, self-regulation to regulate what that has to, improve.
Exactly.
It's like throwing mud at a wall and seeing what sticks, and that doesn't work.
Exactly. No, exactly. And you know what? Too much. I love the way that you've talked about that sort of divine communication with your father without even words, because what you're talking about is tapping into intuition and inner
Yes.
knowing. And I really believe we've all shut that down, that part of us that is intuitive, that inner knowing that can be so guiding and illuminating. And actually, if we start to know ourselves better and listen to the whispers within, we are actually being guided to what is our best potential future and our best potential self, because our bodies are telling us that's draining you or that habit is bad for you. We know it on an inner level, but we shut it down. We shut it down, and we need to just wake up and just trust ourselves and
Yeah.
listen, and then we grow.
Yeah. So true. So true. No, I love that. And if you would love, to share anything else like with the steps or methodology or process, we'd love to. I mean, I know you can't explain all of that in this episode, but
Yeah.
anything top level like you would like to share that really lets the readers or the listeners know that again, like, okay, wow, I never really addressed this area. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my hands on your book and
Yeah.
then get in touch with you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Do you know, I'm going to give you a very simple exercise to just bring you into the present. And this is where so much of our overwhelm that trips us into burnout is where we are imagining a future, worrying about a future, panicking about the future. We're creating tension, or we're regretting the past, ruining the past, and we're swirling over mistakes that we've potentially made. But when we bring ourselves into the present very, very immediately, we soothe
Mm.
our entire physiology and our mind. So it's a really simple, easy trick. And I invite you to just rub your thumb against your forefinger and just feel that gentle softness of actually rubbing your fingers together. And in that moment, you feel a stillness and a presence.
Mm.
I hope I'm
Yep.
still there. I wasn't sure if the screen had actually frozen. I wasn't sure
No,
if I
no, no.
you
We
froze
can hear
us.
you.
I thought, wow, this is real magic. It's frozen.
Yeah, she froze the screen.
Exactly. I've been having Wi-Fi problems today. So, but in that moment of bringing ourselves into true connection with our body and
Mm.
becoming very, very aware, we ground ourselves, and
Yeah,
grounding ourselves into the present moment is a safe place.
yeah.
And from a place of safety and groundedness, we're then able to rise back up and lean into what life has to offer. So that's a very small little thing, but we can do this
Yeah.
at any point in the day. We can do it while we're sitting on a podcast interview
We're
call.
doing this right in the middle of the show.
Exactly, that's it. And it works. I don't know if you're doing it right now. Do you
Yes,
feel
I was doing it while you were demonstrating. I was doing that, and it just like it just kind of brings you back in. So it takes you out, of this past and future thinking into, okay, I'm right here, right now. Boom.
Exactly. It's just
And,
so so easy to do. And it's certainly something I'm teaching my children as well as my colleagues. And with my children, I'm trying to get them to remember their very physicality, because in that glorious richness, our bodies are giving us signals all the time,
yeah.
soothing, but it's so important.
It's like you said, like, is the body doesn't like it, the messages that it gives, and we just have to learn through EQ how to listen for it and know what we have to do to make changes. And like just something
Exactly.
rubbing your thumb against your forefingers, I mean, that how that can play a big role in getting you grounded, like you said, and
Yeah,
then really getting focused in other areas that you probably talk about in the book that will help you. And I would say that it's the consistency of doing that on a regular basis
exactly.
that it, like anything, it starts to grow and then becomes part of your subconscious.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And you know what? It starts you coming into your life through a realm of proactivity. You
Mhm.
are proactively doing something to soothe yourself and bring
Yeah.
yourself into the present. And that's what's so key, to stop being swept downstream by all the distractions and the noise that is eroding
Mhm.
our attention. And this just is a little reminder to come back into, well, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And when you feel that with every cell in your body, you're soothed. And from that lovely soothed place, you're then better able to serve in whichever way you choose to contribute.
Wow. Wow. This is powerful stuff. And I know you got so much more to share. And we definitely have to have you on for round two for another show to continue where we left off here. Because I know it can't only cover so much in a half an hour
Exactly.
show, but I know you got so. But with that being said, I want to make sure that those listeners and the ones that will be listening later, how can they first get a hold of the book? Number one. Number two, how do they get in contact with you? And what are you up to and anything else you'd like to offer or share with them?
Thank you. So the book is available for pre-sale now at all major retailers, Barnes and Noble and Amazon everywhere. And it's out for real on the 11th of March. But if you pre-order it now, we've got all sorts of goodies that I'm offering purchasers. You get a free audio copy of my first book, Flourish, and you get an invitation to my virtual launch party next month. So please buy the book now. And to get in touch with me, my website, biancabest.com, details the work that I do. And I am so impassioned by a mission to infuse the working world with more graceful productivity, because I really firmly believe work should be a joy. It should not be the struggle that all too often it is. So I do one-to-one coaching, I consult with organizations, and I do workshops, keynotes, all sorts, and just try and sprinkle the magic that we don't need to struggle, we can all soar.
Absolutely. One person at a time. And again, we highly encourage you listeners to reach out to Bianca. Again, but get a copy, pre-order the book. We're going to have all of that in the show notes. So you take the link and pre-order your book, and then we'll make sure that Bianca's contact information is there as well. But we highly encourage you to do that. Bianca, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule today to be with us. We're greatly appreciated
Okay.
here at Touch of Life Foundation, TALRadio, and Business Influencer Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we encourage you to check out many of our great shows we've had in the past with subject matter experts like Bianca sharing their words of wisdom and insights to help take you and your business and level of influence to the next level. Remember, your success starts with you, and it's tapping into the information that you hear on this show, but better yet, how do you apply it to your situation and who you are to move forward? Till then, everybody have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.